Hi everyone, it's Christina from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina, and we are doing a project for the Paint Couture creative team. I am taking this cardboard, I am getting the top layer wet so that it's easier to pull back to show the corrugation. I have this birdhouse that's been in my stash for quite some time, and I'm going to use the cardboard to attempt some corrugated metal look. Once I get it cut out the size that it needs to be, then I'm using some type on wood glue and I'm applying the cardboard to both sides of the roof. I'm going to take this dowel saw and I'm going to cut off that perch because I have other plans for that area. Once that's gone, I sand it and now I'm using my drill to put a hole in there for the vintage embellishments that we're going to use later. I am going to prep the cardboard to accept the paint that we're going to layer on it later in this video. This is the Sherbon primer, and this is just going to prepare the cardboard to not get saturated and to accept the paint that how we want it to be layered. Once that's done, I'm going to take the birdhouse and I'm going to cover the entire thing in the color espresso. This is my base layer. This project has lots and lots of layers. So this is my base layer for the birdhouse. I do go and give the entire birdhouse two full coats of this. Okay, and then once that's dry, I'm going to take my buttercream and I'm taking a chippy brush and I'm just doing a very heavy dry brushing. I don't want this to be full coverage. I want it to look rustic. So that's why I chose to do it in this way. I'm just going back and forth in different directions and I'm covering it without giving it total coverage. Once I do that to all four sides, then we're going to use the Paint Couture Crackle. This is step one, and I'm applying this in a very thin layer because I only want a small crackle. I don't want it to be a large crackle. So I do that to all four sides and I let that dry naturally. And then we're going to come in with step two. Once step one is dry and it still feels tacky, that's when you can start applying step two. You don't want to overwork the crackle when you're applying it and let that dry naturally on its own. I think I let it set for about an hour. And then I'm going back in with truffle and I'm doing the top. Again, not a full coverage, but a heavy dry brushing. I want to cover most of that bonding primer. And this truffle is going to be kind of the base for the roof. And I didn't like where the peak and the cardboard met, the wood and the cardboard met, so I decided to use some of the Paint Couture crust. This gave it a nice texture and it made the wood and the cardboard more seamless. So I did that and then I painted it with truffle again. And then we're going to start layering some Firelight, some more truffle, and some pine cone. And you can do this to your liking. I just take turns with the Firelight, the pine cone, and the truffle, and I just layer till I get it the way that I want it to look. I'm trying to make it look like a natural rusting uncorrugated metal. Thanks so much for taking time to watch this video and supporting Paint Couture. If you like what you see and I've inspired you to try any of these my link will
Products.
be in the description. Okay, and now we are going to go in and we're going to brush on some Van Dyke Brown, and I'm really working that into the cracks, and I'm wiping it back with a damp paper towel. I take the brush, what is on my brush, and what's in the lid there, and I'm just brushing that across the top of the roof just to give it a little more dimension. I seal the entire birdhouse with Paint Couture's Dead Flat. That is my favorite finish. And now I'm applying all the fun stuff. I went ahead and I put the vintage embellishments on, and now I have decided I think this needs a little more texture. So I'm going to add some of this moss just in various spots. I'm not going to put a lot in any designated area. I did find this casting that I already had done. It was done in black resin, also from Paint Couture. And then I just finger brushed on some antique bronze. And this is the finished product. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will follow Paint Couture so you can see the future videos made by the other creative team members.